Alright, thank you guys for your feedback on my intro video earlier, by the way. I just made a quick intro that I'm going to use for all my YouTube videos. They're usually around 10 seconds long, so I feel like this is a pretty appropriate length for an intro video. This is another black and white LU match. I'm probably going to be getting some matches against other PMP directors soon if possible, so be sure to watch out for that. I'm going to lead with Tyranitar against his Zapdos. It's a pretty good lead matchup for me because I basically wall every Zapdos set. He goes for a U-turn, it's super effective, but it really doesn't do that much damage because Zapdos is not a physical attacker by any means. I went for a Stealth Rock because I know he had an Espeon, but I was like, there's no way he's going to switch that into a possible crunch. Well, apparently he did, so yeah, I kind of get screwed over there. Anyway, I'm just going to stay in. He might be a dual screens Espeon, so I really have to take him out quickly if that's the case. He's going to go for a Hidden Power Fighting, but I do use a Chople Berry, which protects me from fighting attacks. And Espeon is not really bulky at all, so I'm going to be able to take him out with a super effective Stab Crunch. At least I got rid of his Espeon, which is pretty good because Magic Coat is annoying for a hazard-based team like mine. I need Tyranitar and Skarmory both to set up. I actually make a pretty bad play against his Haxorus here because he went for the Outrage, and I thought he was going to go for Earthquake with Mold Breaker because you know I had a Skarmory, and that showed up on Team Preview. So I was wondering why he went for Outrage when I just had Skarmory to switch in. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure which set it is, maybe Choice Band, but not completely sure, just judging by the way he's playing it. I go into Skarmory here, even though Haxorus is really strong. I'm going to be able to wall it, of course, because Skarmory is really physically bulky. Fortunately, Haxorus doesn't get any hacks on us and crit me or anything, or else I probably would have been pretty messed up here. So I'm just going to stack a couple layers of spikes, going to roost off the damage, so that's going to be pretty good. He's going to get confused now, so I'm predicting him to switch, and I'm just going to set up one layer of spikes. I usually like to have about 2 layers because that's pretty much optimal for what I need in playing conditions. And I usually don't find 3 necessary at all because rocks and 2 layers of spikes is usually fine. He's going to go into his Electro now. Obviously that's going to threaten me out, but I do get a couple layers of spikes in, so that is pretty good. I've got plenty of good switch-ins to Electro though, so I'm not really worried about that. And I'm going to go into Garchomp. It's a Scarf Chomp actually. Garchomp, I love Garchomp. It's like the Scarf Flygon of 5th gen, except a lot more powerful actually, and way cooler of course. He goes for a Taunt instead of an electric move, which I was predicting. I was just gonna outspeed him and go for Earthquake, but I guess he assumed that it was Scarf, so pretty good assumption on his part. He goes into his Zapdos, and I actually go back into Skarmory because I was predicting he was going to U-turn out, and if not, I was just going to use Skarmory as a pivot switch. And he goes for a Hidden Power Ice here, which is meant to hit my Garchomp, but of course I know that Zapdos commonly carries HP Ice, makes a really good attacking combo with electric type moves like Thunderbolt, so I just predicted that. And I actually go into Latios at this point. It wasn't really a good play because I realized that he was probably going to be Scarfed since he has U-turn, so I could have switched into another Hidden Power Ice. Then again, he probably wouldn't have stayed in and hit Skarmory for another round. I'm going to go into Tyranitar at this point because I really need Rocks up. He's got 2 Pokemon weak to Stealth Rock, so if I get my Rocks up, it'll be really help to put pressure on his team. He's going to just stay in and try to finish me off with Thunderbolt. Doesn't really do much because I'm running max HP and Tyranitar is really bulky in Sandstorm. I switched in Tyranitar into Thunder Wave earlier because Electrode outsped Latios, and Tyranitar doesn't really mind being paralyzed. It's pretty slow anyway. Went for a Pursuit there, didn't really matter, it was just for fun because any one of my moves could have KO'd him, so just in case he switched, Pursuit's probably the best option. I'm at really low health here, so I'm just going to stay in and sack Tyranitar. Whenever you have something at really low health, it's really pointless to switch around too much because you could end up mispredicting and getting something else hurt for a lot more. So yeah, sacrificing a Pokemon is one of the best ways to regain momentum. I'm going to go into Deoxys S here and threaten him out with an Ice Beam. Not many people prepare for Deoxys S actually. It's a lot less popular than I thought it would be. And it's actually a really good set, the Life Orb Attacker, although most people lead. It went into his Ferrothorn and it got frozen, which is pretty bad. I really don't like hacks, but you can see that it doesn't really matter because he stays in. I don't know if he would have stayed in otherwise, but I am running HP Fire just for Ferrothorn and non-Bullet Punch Scizor. Well, whenever Scizor doesn't use Bullet Punch, because a lot of them use U-turn instead. So I just went for the HP Fire. Really helps against those steel types. Going to go back into his Zapdos. Like I said earlier, I think it is a Scarf Zapdos, which is why he sent it in. But Deoxys S is so fast that it outspeeds pretty much every choice Scarfer as well. So yeah, it sits at about 503 speed, which is incredibly fast, really. He's going to go into his Arcanine by now, and with Life Orb and Sandstorm taking its toll, I'm really not going to be able to survive for very long, so I'm just going to stay in, even with the possible threat of extreme speed, and hit him for Thunderbolt, even though it won't KO. Surprisingly, he didn't go for extreme speed and went for Snarl instead, which is, wasn't what I was expecting, but I'm not really complaining. I did a pretty good amount of damage with Thunderbolts. And Team Preview is really helpful here. I think it really favors the better player as far as team playing goes. So I'm just going to stay in and go for Outrage with my Scarf Chomp. And he is out of Dragon Resist since Ferrothorn was his only Steel type. So I'm just going to be able to outspeed them all. Even if Haxorus is Choice Scarfed actually, which I don't think it is, it doesn't matter because Haxorus is at 99 speed, whereas Garchomp is at 102. So that's going to wrap up the game for me. And good game.